we crammed in 350 plus. Just want you to know that 3 toilets are not enough for that many people. I went to Croatia for the Masters Laser Worlds. That's a little single-man Olympic class boat that I like to sail, and I like the competition. I like the people in it, a lot of great people, a lot of really good sailors. And in Europe, in the continent, they're extremely competitive, a lot more competitive there than we are in the U.S. They have a lot more sailors sailing lasers in Europe than they do in Australia and New Zealand and all these other countries too. It's quite the big deal. Oh, I made the top half possible.
Okay.
That means I was in the bottom half. Yeah, and this is my advice to you. You got to prepare for these things, and I started preparing for this thing at least 9 months beforehand. And unfortunately for me, I don't really like sailing in the cold, so it is a while before I can really get into that and start sailing, but I did start doing some training, some swimming, and what have you. But the one thing I didn't realize is you gotta use your equipment, all of your equipment, before you go there. The things I learned for Croatia, going to Croatia and traveling, is that number one, go to Italy first. Italy celebrates the pasta, whereas Croatia celebrates the sauce. So I'm more of an Italian than I am a Croatian. I like the pasta and I like a light sauce on top. So if you're going for pasta, go to Italy if you like the pasta. If you're going for the sauce, go to Croatia. Another thing I learned too is that they want to sell you bottled water. Now you can get regular or gas. And I've already got enough gas, so I always went for the regular, but not really. This is a little trick. You can ask them for tap water. And their tap water's just fine. I don't know why they do that bottle thing, but the tap water's just fine, and they'll bring it to you with a little ice in it and a little jug and pour it in it. And that's great. That's awesome. Water bottle. Bring your own water bottle because you're always filling that thing up and using it. And a really light pack, because once you unload, I know you got the big bag and everything, but you got to have a day pack or something to schlep around all that other stuff. I had a bag that I used for my wet sailing gear that I would pile everything in there and schlep around, and they knew I was a tourist, and we all don't want to be tourists all the time. The Vatican. What I found with the Vatican was that they collected a lot of art, and they list how they collected the art, and they list it in 2 ways. Either it says acquired and the date, or they don't say anything at all. And I was just wondering how they got that. If they didn't acquire it, how did they get that? And they got a lot of stuff in the Vatican Museum, like it's huge. While I was at the airport in Split in Croatia, coming back from it, I was talking to a guy and his wife, a gentleman and his wife, who had been out cruising, and they had chartered a boat as well for 900 euros. And they got it for a week too. But their boat had a diesel engine in it, and on-demand hot water, and a shower, and a galley, and a refrigerator, and a dinghy behind, and a winch to pull stuff up on. It had a big mast on it. I got a mast, but I didn't get a sail with it. They had a roller furling headsail, so they got more sails than I have, and it was only $900. So I really like that laser sailing, but boy, there's something to be said for 900 euros in a 34-foot, 2-year-old cruising boat. Make your choices well in Croatia. Yeah.
Would you go back if you weren't sailing? Like, would you go just as like a regular tourist?
Yeah, Croatia is gorgeous. It's old Yugoslavia, former Croatia, then Yugoslavia, and then Croatia and stuff, and it's absolutely beautiful. The water, the islands, there's a lot to do there, and my date wants to go back and do a little cruising. Also, a lot of the cities there, they suggest that it's more Roman than Rome. And they might be right. The cities they have there, in fact, in Split, that's the palace of the Emperor of Rome, who I don't know how came over. He built a palace over there. But the streets and stuff, you know, I remembered in the history books, the streets are only about this wide, maybe a little wider, and they wind through. They don't all go straight and everything. And the reason they did that in the medieval ages and earlier is that when invading armies came in, stuff, the locals would, you know, 3 stories up, would dump their garbage and rocks and stuff down on these guys, and they'd get trapped in these labyrinth of paths going that you could get lost easy. They've got those apps now with the GPS and the little marker, and you put in, they got a restaurant over here, and you have to go to get there because all these streets don't go. But that's pretty fun too. Yeah. Had a great time in Croatia. That's my tips for traveling on the continent.